Good evening, dear listeners, and welcome to a tranquil journey through the quieter corners of history, where the mundane rhythms of the past unfold like a gentle lullaby to ease you into sleep. Whether you're settling into bed in a bustling city or a quiet countryside nook, let me know in the comments where you're drifting off from tonight. Dim the lights, let your breath slow, and allow these soothing tales of medieval life to wash over you, carrying away the day's worries. Tonight, we explore the weird sleep habits of medieval people and more boring history to sleep, whispered softly to guide you toward restful dreams. Close your eyes if you wish, and let the story begin. In the shadowed hush of medieval Europe, where the world turned without the glow of electric lights or the hum of modern machines, the rhythm of daily life followed the sun's quiet arc across the sky, and night stretched long like an endless, comforting blanket. Picture it now, as you lie there in the soft embrace of your own bed, a time from roughly the 5th to the 15th century, when villages dotted the landscape like scattered stars, and the average person rose with the dawn, not to rush into a frantic day, but to ease into a routine as predictable as the turning of seasons. A medieval era, often painted in our minds with dramatic tales of knights and plagues, was in truth a tapestry of simple, repetitive habits that might seem oddly familiar yet strangely foreign, designed not for productivity, but for survival in a world lit only by flickering candles and the moon's pale gaze. As you settle deeper into your pillow, let us begin with the heart of tonight's whisper, the weird sleep habits of medieval people, a practice so ingrained in their lives that it shaped everything from prayer to private moments, all unfolding in the quiet hours when the world outside fell still. Long before the invention of clocks or the standardization of 8-hour nights, medieval folk didn't slumber in one unbroken stretch as we do today. Instead, they embraced what historians call biphasic or segmented sleep, a gentle division of the night into two distinct phases, separated by a period of quiet wakefulness known simply as the watch. Imagine the scene. As the sun dipped below the horizon around 8 or 9 in the evening, after a day spent tending fields or crafting simple goods, a family would gather in their modest home, perhaps a thatched roof cottage with walls of wattle and daub, warmed by a central hearth that crackled softly like the distant echo of your own breathing now slowing. Candles, if they could afford them, made from tallow or beeswax, would be lit sparingly, their flames dancing shadows on the walls, casting a warm, amber glow that invited repose. Dinner, a simple affair of bread, ale, cheese, and perhaps a bit of pottage, a thick stew of vegetables and grains, simmered over the fire, would be cleared away, and the household would prepare for what they called the first sleep. This initial slumber might last 3 to 4 hours, a deep, restorative dive into rest that began shortly after dusk, wrapping the body in the heavy woolen blankets or straw-stuffed mattresses that served as beds. No alarms to jolt them awake. Nature's own clock, the fading light, guided them into this gentle surrender, much like the way your eyelids now grow heavy under the weight of fatigue. During this first sleep, the world outside transformed into a realm of profound quietude, broken only by the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustle of wind through the thatch. Medieval homes were not the insulated sanctuaries we know. Drafts seeped through cracks, and the chill of night air nipped at exposed skin. Yet this discomfort fostered a sleep that was communal and secure. Families often shared a single bed or even a trundle, a smaller bed pulled out from beneath the main one, huddled together for warmth, their breaths mingling in a symphony of soft sighs. Children, tucked in close to their parents, found safety in this closeness, while servants or apprentices might curl up near the hearth, the dying embers providing a faint, hypnotic light. It was a sleep untroubled by the blue glow of screens or the buzz of notifications, a pure descent into unconsciousness where dreams might wander through fields of endless grain or replay the day's labors in softened hues. Historians like Roger Eckertsch, who pored over diaries, court records, and literary works from the time, described this phase as one of deep tranquility, essential for recharging after the physical toll of medieval toil. As you listen, feel that same tranquility settling over you, your body sinking deeper into the mattress, mirroring the way those long-ago villagers surrendered to the night's first embrace. Around midnight or shortly thereafter, perhaps 1 or 2 hours into what we might call the wee hours, the body would stir, not with alarm, but with a natural awakening, as if an internal clock, tuned by generations without artificial light, gently nudged them back to consciousness. This was the watch, a 1 to 2 hour interlude of wakefulness that in the grand sweep of history feels both peculiar and profoundly human. No frantic rush to start the day. Instead, a serene period of quiet activity, illuminated by the moon's silvery light filtering through narrow windows or the relight embers of the fire. What did medieval people do during this time? Oh, the possibilities were as varied as the villages themselves, yet always understated, a far cry from our modern midnight marathons of scrolling or snacking. Many simply lay abed, gazing into the flames or conversing in hushed tones with their bedfellows, whispers about the harvest's yield, a neighbor's ailment, or the latest church gossip, their voices low to avoid disturbing the slumbering household. Prayer was a common ritual. Monks in distant abbeys rose precisely for midnight vigils, chanting psalms in Latin that echoed through stone halls, and this habit trickled down to lay people, who might recite simple devotions or reflect on the day's blessings. Feel the peace of that moment now, as your mind quiets, imagining the soft murmur of prayers blending with the crackle of wood, a meditative pause that invites introspection, much like the calm you're cultivating tonight. For others, the watch was a time for more practical pursuits, all conducted in the dim, flickering light that conserved precious resources. Women might mend clothing by the hearth's glow, their needles flashing like fireflies, stitching tunics or repairing tools with a patience born of necessity. Men could tend to small tasks, like sharpening a scythe or planning the morrow's plowing, their movements deliberate and unhurried. In wealthier homes, those of merchants or minor nobility, the watch might involve reading from illuminated manuscripts, the pages turning with a whisper, or even intimate moments between spouses, as references in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales and other medieval literature hint at lovers reuniting in the night's quiet interlude. Yet even these were subdued. The watch was not for revelry, but for reflection, a bridge between sleeps that allowed the mind to wander without the pressures of daylight. Seasonal variations played their part too. In winter, when nights stretched endlessly, the watch might extend longer, filled with storytelling around the fire, tales of saints or local legends passed down in soothing monotones. In summer, with shorter dark hours, it was briefer, a quick pause before the second sleep. As you relax further, consider how this habit, documented in records from England to Italy, from the 12th century onward, might have fostered a deeper connection to the natural world, unmarred by the artificial extensions of day we cling to now. But why this segmented sleep? Historians point to the absence of constant light as the key without street lamps or bulbs to chase away the dark. The body's circadian rhythm, aligned more closely with the sun's cycle, naturally dividing rest into phases. Studies in modern times, like those at the National Institute of Mental Health, have recreated this by depriving participants of artificial light, resulting in biphasic patterns after just weeks. For medieval people, it was simply life, a habit so normalized that it appears in medical texts, like those advising on health regimens, and even in criminal depositions where suspects confess to deeds done after first sleep. Imagine a young villager in 14th century Yorkshire, awakening in the watch to slip out for a clandestine meeting, only to return before the second sleep, the night's secrecy preserved by the routine itself. This practice wasn't unique to Europe. Echoes appear in accounts from Africa, the Middle East, and South America, suggesting a global pre-industrial norm. Yet, as the Industrial Revolution dawned in the 18th and 19th centuries, with factories demanding unbroken shifts and gas lamps extending evenings, the two-sleep custom faded, replaced by our consolidated 8-hour ideal. Today, some sleep experts wonder if reviving it could combat insomnia. But for our medieval ancestors, it was just the way of the world, a weird, wonderful adaptation that made the long nights feel less daunting. As the watch drew to a close, around 2 or 3 in the morning, the household would stir once more, perhaps with a sip of ale or a bite of bread to settle the stomach, before settling back into the second sleep or morning sleep. This phase, lasting until dawn or shortly after, was often lighter. A gentle recharge before the sun's rise called them to labor. Roosters crowed, signaling the end, and the family would rise, stretching in the pale light filtering through shutters, ready for another day of sowing, reaping, or crafting. Breakfast was simple porridge or bread dipped in ale eaten quickly before heading to the fields or workshops. The second sleep ensured they faced the day refreshed, their bodies attuned to the earth's quiet cycles. In monasteries, this routine was even more regimented. Monks rose for matins during the watch, their chants a harmonious backdrop to the night's peace, influencing lay practices through sermons and example. Feel that continuity now, as your own rest deepens, the medieval night's rhythm sensing with your slowing pulse, a bridge across centuries, inviting you to let go. Yet not all medieval sleep was so serene. Variations crept in based on class and season. Peasants in rural manors, bound to the feudal system, might share beds with livestock for warmth in winter. The animal's body heat a crude but effective blanket against the frost. Nobles in stone castles fared better, with feather mattresses and tapestries insulating their chambers, but even they adhered to the two-sleep pattern, as chronicled in royal diaries. Children, advised in medical texts to sleep straight through for health, often mimicked adults, while the elderly might extend the watch for contemplation. Dangers lurked. 2 house fires from unattended candles during the watch were common, a reminder of the era's fragility. Yet the habit persisted, a testament to human adaptability. As you ponder this, let the image fade. A medieval family, rousing in the watch, their whispers blending with the night's hush, much like your thoughts now softening into silence. This weird custom of 2 sleeps wasn't just about rest. It wove into the fabric of medieval society, influencing everything from literature to law. In Geoffrey Chaucer's Tales, pilgrims reference awakening after the first sleep, while court records from 1699 describe a child's murder, committed in that interlude. It fostered creativity. 2 poets composed verses by candlelight, scholars pondered texts, all in the watch's quiet glow. For women, it might mean mending or childcare. For men, planning or repairs. In a world without entertainment, this time was precious, a pause for the soul amid labor's grind. Modern parallels emerge in siestas or naps, but the medieval watch was uniquely nocturnal, a cultural artifact lost to progress. As historians like Sasha Handley note in Sleep in Early Modern England, its decline coincided with urbanization, leaving us with fragmented rest in an overstimulated age. Perhaps in reclaiming a bit of that ancient rhythm, we might find our own nights more peaceful. As dawn's first light crept in, signaling the end of the second sleep, medieval life stirred in new fields calling, hearths needing rekindling, the cycle beginning afresh. But the night's weird habits lingered in memory, a foundation for the day's quiet routines. We've only begun to uncover the boring yet fascinating undercurrents of medieval existence. What other habits await in the shadows? For now, let this chapter's gentle revelation settle over you, like a soft fog rolling in, carrying you toward deeper rest. If a particular detail resonates, share in the comments before sleep claims you fully. The dawn's first light has crept through the shutters of medieval homes, stirring families from their second sleep, their bodies attuned to the earth's gentle rhythm, much like your own breath now slowing as you sink deeper into the embrace of night. The weird custom of two sleeps, with its tranquil watch, was but one thread in the tapestry of medieval life, a world where every task, every meal, every moment was shaped by the sun's arc and the season's turn. As the villagers rose peasants in their thatched cottages, monks in stone cloisters, nobles in tapestried halls, their days unfolded with a simplicity that feels both distant and comforting, like a story whispered by the hearth to lull you toward rest. In this chapter, we wander through the quiet pulse of their daily lives, exploring the mundane yet peculiar habits of eating, washing, and living together. Each ritual a soft note in the symphony of survival that resonates like the calm now enveloping you. Let these tales of ordinary medieval folk, their routines as steady as the tide, carry you closer to slumber. The day began not with the clamor of alarms, but with the natural cues of the world roosters crowing, church bells tolling for morning prayers, or the soft glow of sunrise filtering through narrow windows. Picture a peasant family in a 13th century English village, their cottage a humble structure of timber and daub, its earthen floor strewn with rushes that crunched underfoot like whispers in the dark. The air carried the scent of wood smoke and damp earth, a reminder of the hearth that warmed their nights and now flickered low, awaiting fresh kindling. The family, perhaps a farmer, his wife, and their children stretched beneath their woolen blankets, their bodies warm from shared sleep, their minds still lingering in the dreams of the second sleep. Breakfast was a simple affair, taken quickly to fuel the day's labor. A hunk of rye bread, coarse and dark, might be dipped in ale, the liquid as much a staple as food in a world where water was often suspect. Pottage, that ever-present medieval stew, bubbled in a cauldron over the fire, its contents a humble mix of barley, onions, and whatever herbs or roots the season offered. Cabbage in winter, peas in spring. Imagine the steam rising from the pot, its warmth curling like a gentle fog, its scent grounding you as your thoughts soften into the rhythm of rest. Eating in medieval times was not a grand event for most, but a necessity shaped by scarcity and faith. The church dictated much of the diet, with fast days sometimes nearly half the year barring meat, eggs, and dairy for devout Christians. On these days, fish became a staple, especially for those near rivers or coasts, where herring or salted cod might be boiled into a watery broth. For inland peasants, Beans or lentils filled the gap, their earthy flavors a quiet comfort, like the steady pulse now guiding you deeper into calm. Meals were eaten with wooden spoons or fingers, from shared trenchers flat pieces of stale bread or wood that soaked up juices, their texture a tactile reminder of the day's toil. The wealthy, in their stone manners, dined more elaborately, with spiced meats or fruits preserved in honey, yet even their tables followed the church's rhythm, their feasts restrained by Lent's austerity. A noble woman might sip watered wine, her goblet gleaming in candlelight, while her servants nibbled on leftovers below stairs. As you listen, picture the communal act of breaking bread, the clink of wooden bowls, the soft murmur of conversation, blending with the crackle of the hearth, a scene as soothing as the night now wrapping around you. Hygiene, another cornerstone of daily life, was peculiar by modern standards, yet it held a quiet logic that mirrored the medieval world's balance of practicality and belief. Bathing was not the daily ritual we know, but it was far from absent. In villages, a weekly bath might take place in a wooden tub filled with water heated over the fire, the family taking turns in the same water to conserve resources. Imagine the scene: a mother scrubbing her child's face with a cloth, the water tepid but comforting, the steam rising like a dream's faint mist. Soap, made from ash and animal fat, was harsh but effective, its scent earthy rather than floral. For the wealthy, bathhouses in towns or castles offered more luxury stone basins, scented herbs, even attendants to pour warm water, but these were rare treats, not daily indulgences. Public bathhouses, especially in urban centers like 14th century London or Paris, were social hubs where merchants and townsfolk soaked and gossiped, their voices low in the steam-filled air, much like the whispers now fading in your mind. Yet, cleanliness was not just about the body. It was spiritual. The church preached purity, and washing before prayer or festivals was a ritual, a cleansing of both flesh and soul, as calming as the quiet now settling over you. The medieval obsession with purity extended to the mouth, where dental care was surprisingly diligent for some. People chewed on twigs of hazel or rubbed their teeth with cloths dipped in sage or salt, their efforts not unlike the small rituals that prepare you for sleep. Toothaches, a common woe, were treated with herbal pastes or prayers to Saint Apollonia, the patron of dentistry, whose martyrdom inspired hope against pain. Hair was combed with bone combs, like a persistent nuisance that required communal grooming mothers, picking through their children's hair by the fire, a task as intimate as it was practical. Clothing, too, was kept as clean as possible, though washing woolen tunics or linen shifts was laborious, done in rivers or tubs with lye-heavy soaps that stung the hands. These acts, mundane as they seem, were woven into the fabric of daily life, each stroke of the comb or scrub of cloth, a rhythm as steady as your breath now slowing. Reflect on this simplicity, how the smallest tasks grounded a world without modern conveniences, their repetition a lullaby that echoes in the calm of your own rest. Communal living shaped these habits, binding families and villages in a web of shared survival. Homes were rarely private. A peasant's cottage might house not just parents and children, but grandparents, cousins, or even laborers, all sharing the same space, the same hearth, the same bed. Picture it now. A single room, its air thick with the scent of straw and smoke, where bodies huddled for warmth, their closeness a shield against the night's chill. Beds were simple sacks stuffed with straw, or, for the fortunate, feathers piled with blankets to ward off drafts that slipped through cracks in the walls. In winter, Livestock might share the space, their warmth a necessity, their soft snuffling a counterpoint to the family's snores. This togetherness fostered a sense of security, much like the comfort you feel now as the night wraps around you. In monasteries, monks slept in dormitories, their cots aligned like rows in a field, their sleep punctuated by the tolling of bells for midnight prayers, a rhythm that mirrored the watch of layfolk. Even nobles, with their curtained four-poster beds, often shared chambers with attendants, privacy a luxury few could afford. This communal life extended beyond the home, weaving villages into tight-knit communities where every task was shared. Neighbors gathered to reap fields, bake bread in communal ovens, or repair thatch after storms, their voices mingling in a chorus as soft as the whispers now fading in your thoughts. Festivals, often tied to the church's calendar, broke the monotony Michaelmas in autumn, Candlemas in winter, where villagers feasted on shared ale and danced to the drone of bagpipes, their joy a spark in the dark. These gatherings, though lively, were tempered by the era's constraints. Even celebration was a ritual, its rhythm as predictable as the seasons. In towns, guilds bound craftsmen together, their workshops buzzing with the clink of hammers or the scrape of looms, their nights ending in shared meals that echoed the communal spirit of the countryside. As you drift, imagine the warmth of these connections, the way they anchored a world of uncertainty, their steadiness, a mirror to the calm now settling in your chest. Timekeeping, too, was a peculiar habit, shaped not by clocks, but by nature and faith. Without mechanical devices, medieval folk measured their days by the sun's path, the tolling of church bells, or the calls to prayer matins at dawn, vespers at dusk. Monks were the era's timekeepers, their lives divided into 7 daily offices, each a pause to mark the day's passage, their chants a melody that drifted over fields. For peasants, work followed the light, plowing at sunrise, resting at noon, retiring as dusk fell. This rhythm, dictated by the world's natural pulse, feels distant yet familiar, like the way your body now aligns with the night's quiet pull. Sundials, used by the literate few, cast shadows that marked hours, while hourglasses or water clocks appeared in monasteries, their drip a soft reminder of time's flow. In a world without urgency, these markers were less about precision and more about harmony, a balance that soothes as you sink deeper into rest. Yet not all was serene. Dangers lurked in the medieval day disease, fire, hunger, but the routines of eating, washing, and living together were a bulwark against chaos. Food shortages meant pottage might thin to broth in lean years, yet communal sharing ensured no one starved alone. Hygiene, though limited, staved off illness where it could, with herb gardens providing remedies like mint for digestion or chamomile for calm, their scents a faint echo in the night air now surrounding you. Superstitions shaped habits too, charms tucked under pillows to ward off nightmares, or salt sprinkled at thresholds to keep spirits at bay. These beliefs, woven into daily life, added a layer of mystery, their quiet rituals a comfort like the stories now lulling you. The medieval day, with its cycles of work and rest, eating and cleansing, was a dance of necessity, each step deliberate, each moment a thread in the fabric of survival. As the sun climbed higher, villagers moved to fields or markets, their tasks as repetitive as the waves now carrying you toward sleep. But more quirks await habits of work, leisure, and belief that shaped their world in ways both strange and familiar. Let the pulse of their days fade into the quiet of your own night, their routines a gentle guide toward rest. If a detail lingers in your mind, Share it in the comments before sleep claims you fully. As the medieval day unfolded, its pulse of eating, washing, and communal living settled into a deeper cadence, like the gentle rise and fall of your breath, now guiding you toward slumber. The villagers, having risen from their second sleep and broken their fast with simple bread and pottage, stepped into the light of a new morning, their lives woven into the fabric of labor and faith that defined their world. The fields stretched before them, golden under the sun or silvered by dawn's mist, while church bells tolled in the distance, calling the faithful to prayer and marking the hours with a rhythm as steady as the night now cradling you. In this chapter, we wander through the quiet routines of medieval work and worship, exploring the peculiar habits of toil in fields and workshops, the pervasive influence of religious practices, and the subtle rituals that bound communities together, each moment a soft note in the lullaby of survival. Let these tales of ordinary folk, their days as predictable as the seasons, carry you deeper into the calm of rest, their simplicity, a whisper that soothes like the darkness now enveloping you. A medieval workday began with the sun, its rays piercing the morning haze to signal the start of labor. Picture a peasant farmer in a 13th century village, perhaps in the rolling hills of Tuscany or the damp lowlands of England, stepping out from his thatched cottage, his breath visible in the cool air, his hands rough from years of gripping a plow. His tools were simple wooden hoes, iron-tipped sickles, ox-drawn plows that furrowed the earth with a slow, deliberate scrape, their sound a distant echo of the quiet now settling in your mind. The fields, divided into strips under the feudal system, belonged not to him but to the lord of the manor, yet he worked them with a care born of necessity, sowing barley, rye, or oats that would feed his family through the winter. The rhythm of plowing was hypnotic step, push, turn, repeat each motion blending into the next, like the steady pulse of your breath, a labor so repetitive it could lull the mind into a meditative state, much like the stories now guiding you toward sleep. Women, too, toiled alongside, planting seeds or weeding with bent backs, their skirts tucked up to avoid the mud, their voices humming soft tunes that drifted over the fields like a breeze. Work was not confined to the fields. Villages buzzed with the hum of crafts, each trade a thread in the community's survival. In a narrow workshop, a blacksmith hammered iron into horseshoes, his forge glowing like a star in the dim room, the clang of metal on anvil, a rhythm as steady as your slowing heartbeat. Nearby, a weaver wove wool into cloth on a creaking loom, her fingers deft as they shuttled thread, the fabric piling up like dreams gathering in your mind. Potters shaped clay into jugs, their wheels spinning with a soft hum, while carpenters carved beams for new homes, their saws rasping in a cadence that echoed the night's quiet pulse. These tasks, though laborious, were not rushed. Time moved slowly in a world without clocks, measured by the sun's arc or the tolling of bells from the village church. Imagine the scene now, a marketplace where tanners, bakers, and brewers traded their wares, their voices low as they haggled over eggs or ale, the air thick with the scent of fresh bread and leather, a symphony of mundane sounds that soothes like the darkness now wrapping around you. For women, work often centered on the home, though it was no less vital. Spinning wool into thread was a constant task, the whir of the distaff and spindle, a background hum in every cottage, its rhythm as calming as the tide now pulling you toward rest. Women brewed ale a staple, drinks safer than water-stirring vats of barley, and yeast with wooden paddles, the process as methodical as prayer. They baked bread in communal ovens, the heat reddening their cheeks, or churned butter in wooden churns, the repetitive motion, a meditation that grounded their days. Children, too, had their roles, gathering firewood or herding geese, their small hands learning the tasks that would define their lives. These labors were not solitary. Neighbors worked together, sharing tools or helping with harvests, their cooperation a bond as warm as the hearth's glow, a reminder of the community that anchored their world, much like the comfort you feel now as sleep draws near. Religion was the heartbeat of medieval life, its rituals shaping every hour, every task, every hope. The church's influence was inescapable, its bells ringing out the canonical hours matins at dawn, vespers at dusk, and the midnight office that echoed the layfolk's watch. Picture a monk in a stone cloister, his sandals scuffing the floor as he rises for lauds, his breath visible in the cold air, his voice joining others in a chant that drifts over sleeping fields. Lay people, too, wove faith into their routines, pausing to pray before meals or crossing themselves when passing a wayside shrine, their gestures as instinctive as your own sigh now easing you deeper into calm. Sundays and holy days, some 50 or more, a year halted work, drawing villagers to churches where priests delivered sermons in Latin, their words a mystery to most, but their tone a soothing drone, like the stories now lulling you. The church calendar dictated life's rhythm. Advent's quiet anticipation, Lent's somber fasts, Easter's joyful release, each season a cycle that mirrored the ebb and flow of your breath. Religious practices extended beyond the church walls, infusing daily tasks with sacred meaning. Farmers prayed to Saint Cuthbert for bountiful crops, their whispered devotions mingling with the wind as they sowed seeds. Weavers might dedicate their work to Saint Catherine, patron of spinners, their looms adorned with small charms to ensure steady hands. Illness or misfortune prompted pilgrimages, some to local shrines, others to distant Canterbury or Santiago de Compostela, where travelers sought healing or forgiveness, their steps a pilgrimage as deliberate as the journey to sleep you're on now. Relics, like a saint's bone or a splinter of the true cross, were venerated in candlelit chapels, their presence a promise of divine protection that calmed fears, much like the quiet now settling in your chest. Even mundane tasks carried spiritual weight. A baker might mark a loaf with a cross before baking, warding off evil, while a mother whispered prayers over her child's cradle to banish nightmares, their words a soft shield against the dark. Superstitions, entwined with faith, added a layer of peculiarity to these routines. Herbs like rosemary were hung above doorways to repel malevolent spirits, their scent a faint echo in the night air now surrounding you. Amulets carved with runes or crosses were tucked into clothing, their weight a comfort against unseen dangers. The fear of witches or the evil eye prompted rituals salt sprinkled at thresholds, horseshoes nailed above doors, each act a small defiance of the unknown, as reassuring as the blanket now wrapping you. Dreams, too, were omens. A vision of clear water might foretell prosperity, while a dark forest could warn of trouble, prompting consultations with local wise women who read signs in tea leaves or fire embers. These beliefs, though strange to us, were as integral to medieval life as the fields they worked, their quiet rituals a rhythm that grounded their days, much like the stories now guiding you toward rest. Work and faith were not without their challenges. Harvests could fail, leaving villages hungry, their pottage thinned to broth, their prayers more fervent. Guilds, while fostering community, demanded strict adherence to rules, with fines for shoddy work or missed deadlines, a pressure that weighed like a stone. The church, too, could burden. Tithes 10% of crops or earnings strained meager resources, while indulgences sold for forgiveness sparked grumbling among the devout. Yet these trials fostered resilience, as communities rallied to share food or rebuild after storms, their unity a light in the dark, much like the calm now enveloping you. Monasteries, with their vast estates, offered charity bread for the poor, healing herbs from their gardens, their generosity a reminder that faith could be a refuge, not just a rule. The medieval day, with its blend of toil and prayer, was a dance of survival, each step deliberate, each moment a thread in the fabric of community. As evening approached, the sun dipping low, villagers returned to their hearths, their bodies weary, but their spirits anchored by the day's rhythms. Supper, another bowl of pottage, perhaps with a sliver of cheese, marked the transition to night, the family gathering once more to share stories or prayers before the first sleep. But more awaits in the tapestry of medieval life customs of leisure, celebration, and the quiet preparations for winter's long nights. Let the rhythms of their days fade into the hush of your own night, their routines a gentle guide toward slumber. If a detail lingers, share it in the comments before sleep claims you fully. As the medieval day drew to its close, with the sun sinking below the horizon and the tolling of vespers bells fading into the twilight, villagers gathered around their hearths, their bodies weary from toil, and their hearts warmed by the quiet rituals of faith and community. The rhythms of work and prayer, so intrinsic to their lives, now gave way to moments of leisure, celebration, and preparation for the seasons ahead, each act a soft thread in the tapestry of survival that wrapped their world in meaning. Picture them now, dear dreamer, in a 14th century hamlet, the sky painted with hues of amber and violet, the air heavy with the scent of wood smoke and cooling earth. As families settle into the evening's calm, much like your own breath now slowing into the embrace of sleep. In this final chapter, we wander through the gentle close of their days, exploring the peculiar customs of medieval leisure, the joy of festivals, and the preparations that braced them for winter's long nights. Each moment a whisper of continuity that soothes like the darkness now enveloping you. Let these tales, as steady as the tide, carry you fully into the arms of slumber. Leisure in the medieval world was not the endless scroll of modern distraction, but a precious pause, woven into the fabric of daily life with a simplicity that feels both foreign and comforting. After the day's labor plowing fields, weaving cloth, or tending livestock, villagers sought respite in small, communal joys, their activities as rhythmic as the pulse now guiding you toward rest. In the fading light, families might gather in their cottages, the hearth's glow casting shadows that danced like memories on the walls. Storytelling was a cherished pastime, the tales not of grand knights, but of local lore saints who blessed wells, spirits haunting nearby woods, or humorous anecdotes about a neighbor's misadventure with a stubborn mule. Imagine a father, his voice low and melodic, recounting the legend of St. George to wide-eyed children, the story unfolding like a dream, its cadence as soothing as the night now wrapping around you. These tales, passed down through generations, were a balm for weary souls, their familiarity a comfort akin to the warmth of your own bed. Games, too, filled these quiet hours, their simplicity a counterpoint to the day's toil. In village greens or cramped cottage corners, adults and children played at dice, carved from bone or wood, their clatter a soft rhythm against the evening's hush. Chess, a favorite among nobles, trickled down to taverns, Where crude boards saw knights and bishops moved with careful deliberation, the game of meditation is calming as your slowing breath. Outdoor games like archery or skittles knocking pins with a thrown stick drew laughter under starlight, the sounds mingling with the chirp of crickets, a chorus that echoed the peace now settling in your chest. Music was another solace, with villagers strumming lutes or blowing reed pipes, their melodies drifting over fields like a breeze. In wealthier homes, a minstrel might sing ballads of lost love or heroic deeds, their voice a thread that wove community together, much like the stories now lulling you toward sleep. Festivals were the heartbeat of medieval leisure, breaking the monotony of labor with bursts of communal joy that resonated through the seasons. The church calendar dictated these celebrations, each tied to a saint or sacred event, their rhythms as predictable as the cycles of day and night. Michaelmas, in late September, marked the harvest's end, with villagers feasting on goose roasted over open fires, the meat's rich scent mingling with the crisp autumn air. Picture the scene now, tables set in a village square, laden with bread, ale, and apples, neighbors laughing as children chased each other through the dusk, their voices a melody that fades like a dream. Christmas brought 12 days of revelry, with mummers' masked performers acting out plays in manor halls or village greens, their antics a spark of joy in winter's gloom. Candlemas, in February, saw churches aglow with beeswax candles, their light a promise of spring's return, their flicker as hypnotic as the thoughts now softening in your mind. These festivals were not mere escapes, but sacred pauses, their rituals a reminder that even in hardship, joy could bloom like a flower in frost. Midsummer's Eve, tied to St. John's Day, was perhaps the most magical, with bonfires lit on hilltops, their flames leaping like stars brought to earth. Villagers danced around them, tossing herbs like vervain into the fire to ward off evil, their movements a rhythm that echoed the earth's pulse. Young lovers leapt over embers, believing the act ensured a fruitful marriage, their hopes as bright as the night now cradling you. These celebrations, documented in chronicles like those of Froissart, were communal affairs, binding rich and poor in shared song and laughter. Even the church, so strict in its fasts, embraced these moments, with priests blessing the fires or leading processions, their chants a soothing drone that blended with the night's quiet. As you drift, imagine the glow of those bonfires, their warmth a mirror to the calm now enveloping you, their light a guide toward rest. Seasonal preparations, especially for winter, were another rhythm that shaped medieval life, their tasks as deliberate as the steps of a dance. As autumn deepened, villagers turned their attention to survival through the cold months, their work a quiet act of defiance against nature's harshness. Harvests were gathered with care, sheaves of barley and wheat stacked in barns, their golden hues a promise of sustenance. Women preserved food apples dried, meat salted, herbs hung in bundles, each act a ritual as calming as the night now wrapping around you. Picture a mother in a smoky cottage, her hands deftly slicing turnips to store in cool cellars, her movements steady, her mind focused on the family's survival. Men repaired roofs, layering new thatch to shield against snow, or chopped firewood, the axe's rhythmic thud a counterpoint to the wind's howl. These tasks, though laborious, were communal, with neighbors helping to mend walls or slaughter pigs, their shared effort a bond as warm as a hearth's glow. Winter's approach brought peculiar customs, each a thread in the tapestry of preparation. Pigs, fattened on autumn acorns, were slaughtered in November, their blood turned into puddings, their fat rendered for candles or soap. The feast that followed, often tied to Martinus, filled homes with the scent of roasted meat, a rare treat that warmed both body and soul. In northern regions, like Scandinavia or Scotland, ice was cut from ponds and stored in straw-lined pits, a medieval precursor to refrigeration, ensuring water or cooled food through milder months. Households stockpiled fuel logs, peat, or even dried dung in lean times, their piles a bulwark against the cold, much like the comfort you feel now as sleep draws near. Superstitions guided these preparations. A sprig of holly above the door warded off winter spirits, while a loaf baked with a hidden being crowned a king for Twelfth Night, a playful ritual that lightened the season's weight. These preparations extended to the spiritual, as winter was a time for reflection and renewal. Advent, the weeks before Christmas, was a season of quiet anticipation, with fasting and prayer, preparing the soul for Christ's birth. Monasteries hummed with activity, monks copying manuscripts by candlelight, their quills scratching like whispers in the dark, preserving knowledge through the cold. Layfolk, too, turned inward, mending clothes or carving wooden toys for children, their hands busy while their minds wandered through prayers or memories. The church encouraged charity nobles distributed alms. Monasteries fed the poor, their generosity a light in winter's gloom, a reminder that community was the true shield against hardship. As you listen, feel the warmth of that charity, its glow a mirror to the calm now settling in your chest, its promise as enduring as the night. The medieval world, with its cycles of leisure, celebration, and preparation, was a testament to resilience, each custom a quiet act of survival that bound communities together. These habits, storytelling by the fire, dancing at festivals, stockpiling for winter, were not mere tasks, but rituals that gave meaning to life's growing, their simplicity a comfort like the blanket now wrapping you. Historians like Ian Mortimer that these routines, documented in household accounts and parish records, reveal a people attuned to their world, their lives shaped by the seasons and faith in ways we can scarcely imagine. Yet, their echoes linger in our holiday feasts, our communal gatherings, our quiet moments of reflection before sleep claims us. What whispers of these medieval days linger in your heart? If you're still awake, pause to reflect. Perhaps share in the comments which custom a festival's joy, a winter's preparation, resonates with you as you drift closer to the edge of dreams. These tales, born of simple lives, have woven a tapestry that spans centuries, their rhythms as eternal as the stars above you. The medieval folk, with their weird sleep habits and quiet routines, remind us that life, like a dream, is a balance of labor and rest, joy and preparation, their legacy a lullaby that cradles you now. Good night, dear dreamer, and may your sleep be as gentle as the close of their days, filled with the peace of a world long past but never forgotten.